Hey everybody, it's Marcy from wavesofcommunication.com. Good morning. I know it's not morning everywhere, but it's morning where I am. And the reason I know it's not morning everywhere is because I've just been on a WhatsApp chat with a group of professionals from South Asia. I'm not sure where, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, that area. And the conversation, I was invited there by another practitioner because he knows that I have my workbook in Hindi and things like that. And so I introduced myself and talked about my book and was immediately greeted by all of these behavior therapists, ABA people, who this was, a group of practitioners for kids, of people who work with kids with autism. So it was practitioners about autism and people who have autism. And some of them, this one gal is even a gal who has a kid who, adults with autism. And the message that I saw repeatedly from these professionals was how they can't, there's so many of the people of the parents and grandparents of the kids they're working with who refuse to accept the fact that their child has an autism diagnosis. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to see those things. And also, they don't want to do what these therapists tell them to do. They say, your child has this and this is going on. This is what the therapists were saying in this group, that the parents, I can't believe these parents ignore and whatever. And every time they had a situation like, the parents don't agree, and I would say I side with the parents. I agree with the parents and grandparents. I don't think these diagnoses are necessary. And they talked about how they used these. In fact, they showed me many videos of children who had different behavior and how they couldn't do things. And all three of the people who were talking here in this chat that were justifying what they were doing, what they said was the child couldn't sit still. He was jumping from table to table to table, and now he can sit, but he doesn't like to write, and he doesn't like to whatever. And these kids, some of them are using some speech, some of them not, but none of them are talking, and all of them are quote unquote compliant. They do what these people say. In fact, this is what these therapists are seeing as progress, is when the child does what they say. And when I ask if these behaviors are sustainable, because they talk about using the R's, the reinforcers, the positive and negative reinforcements, and all these things that they use in the ABA. And when I would talk to them about how I don't think these things are necessary, I think that behaviors can be learned and sustained, participation and independence for self-care and all of these things can be developed and sustained with children when they are self-motivated, not when they're bribed or whatever, but when they're self-motivated to do these things, then they learn to do them, and then they stay, the skills stick. But I think maybe, I don't know. And, every time I would talk about how they felt that the compliance avenue was important, I talked about how it was more important to focus on this child's brilliance and the light and the skills that they knew. And all of them agreed that when they saw those things come out, those were the happiest times of when they were working with these kids. I love it when they see it and when they feel the connection with the child, when the child is finally able to break through and share some knowledge that they do that's spontaneous. Because I think when they get what they expect, they just expect to get what they expect to get what they expect. And when the child is allowed some opportunity to show their brilliance, that's what these people love about their job. And what I was trying to explain is that you can help the child and the facilitator love every minute of the experience when you're connected with the child through the experience, and you're empowering the child to brush their teeth or get dressed or write or do whatever because it's beneficial to them, and you make it easy for them instead of force them to do things on your schedule with your expectations. And yeah, I just really felt very powerfully drawn back to my platform to talk to all of you about this experience, because I can imagine this is what you're going through. I know that this is what you tell me, is that these therapists are pushing these diagnoses on you because once you get the diagnosis, then it sort of opens the door for them to say, well, this is what's going on with your child. This is what's wrong with your child. And because your child is differently learning, we have to teach them in this different way, which is not the way that the moms and the grandmas and the dads and the aunties and uncles that are in these same households, because there are a lot of blended households. And they see these therapists coming in, try to put these artificial reward reinforcement based strategies into a household that is a very natural environment. Sorry, excuse me. My nose is itching. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so the message, I guess, ultimately with this is to let you know that I'm here for you, and I'm going to continue to produce content that's going to support you as you take on this role to use these people as resources. They love your kids. They want to see it. And hopefully they will learn from you, to try to connect with them, to show them how to connect with your child. And if not, I just kind of had to excuse myself from the conversation because I couldn't go around and around and around anymore. All they were trying to do is justify. Look at how much calmer this child is. And I just see that calm as suppression. And they see, look at how much more compliant this child. And I see that as the opposite of independence. Is compliance, when they do these things, when they get these rewards. So, all I want to say is I know that this is really important, and I'm going to put this out here. If you like this idea, and you feel that this is a safe space for you, because you can come here whether you believe your child has a diagnosis or not. It doesn't matter. That's what we say on the Waves of Communication channel. Diagnosis only matters to people that want to project their artificial learning onto you because your child has to fit their criteria. And language facilitation is natural. It is for all children. It doesn't matter why your child is late talking. As a language facilitator, your connection with the child will show you what they need from you to model for them to provide the spoken language they need. And you don't need to pressure them into doing anything or try to pull words out of them just to prove to anybody that they can or will be able to talk. I saw evidence in every one of those videos that they shared of brilliance that wants to come out of these kids, but literally is suppressed by the highly controlled ABA environment. And the ABA with compassion is like, it's a little bit like cage-free eggs that are raised in a shack. There's this illusion that there's compassion, but it's not. It's control. And I'm against it. And unless you give it up and give up the pressure and the prompting, your child's going to be confused potentially, and they want you to see through it. And so if you do see through it, the artificial labeling for the artificial therapies, for the artificial outcome, stick around, because here on the Waves of Communication channel, there are going to be resources to help you get better results faster, optimal results faster. Stay tuned.